Okay, so I don't want you guys to be really tired of Anne Bradstreet yet. This next assignment is going to be fairly simple. The question is going to look complicated, but in reality, they are not complicated. So, and we'll go over them probably tomorrow because I want to give you a chance to actually do the questions itself. They are due tonight. But what you're going to end up doing, let me go to the assignment, is you're going to click on here, follow some verses. And we did that in the announcement video. Hopefully you saw that. And let me kill the agenda here. There we go. And there is a video already. That's just an old video, and that was from last week, another class. So we're just going to do our own. You're going to click on Upon the Burning of Our House, and it's going to open up a PDF version of the poem. And then after you do that, you're going to come back to the assignment here, and these questions, you're going to copy these questions into a Google Doc, which means you're going to have to create a Google Doc, call it a title, your last name plus, house or something like that, something different from what you did the other day. And then you'll paste those questions in there and you'll answer those questions. But the document is this here. Let me blow it up a little bit. You don't have to download it. It does open up another tab for you so you can see the document right here. And we're going to do a follow along as we read. So what you'll end up doing is coming to here. But before we do that, I know I've covered a couple of things, so this is going to be kind of a reminder. Anne Bradstreet, she was 16 years old when she left, or I'm sorry, when she married. She was 18 when she hit the high seas to come to the New World. When she wrote this poem, she was about 54, or when her house burned down, she was about 54 years old. So she's collected a lot of gear, and she's collected a lot of stuff, and she has a lot of stuff, but more importantly, she still has her faith. So I just want to remind you, no one died in this poem, and I know we talked about it the other day, but I want you to see this. Today, Anne Bradstreet is remembered not for her elaborate earlier poems, which focus on public events, but for a few simple personal lyrics on such topics as the birth of children, the death of grandchildren, her love for her husband, her son's departure for England, and her own illnesses and adversities. In a letter to her children just before she died, she wrote, "Among all my experiences of God's gracious dealings with me, I have constantly observed this, that he hath never suffered me long to sit loose from him, but by one affliction or other hath made me look home and search what was amiss." So she's really saying that, hey, my troubles have always not been long-winded, or not been, they haven't been that long. There was times when she had troubles, but she was able to reflect on her past. But when she says, hath made me look home and search what was amiss, her home, we established that earlier from this poem, that her home is really above. Her home is not this is not a permanent place for her here. Her permanent place is in heaven above. So anyway, I know this is in here when you do it with the quick write. I'm not asking for that. There is a definition of plain style. Plain style way of writing. It stresses simplicity. The Puritans were a very simple people. As a matter of fact, they wanted to simplify the Church of England as well. So keep in mind that they're not the separatists like she's not a separatist. She's a Puritan. So they wanted practice their religion the way that they felt God really wanted them to practice it. All right. So it stresses simplicity and clarity of expression. That's plain style. And she does use meter and rhyme like you would expect in poetry. And she does that, makes the words do what she needs to do by using inverse language. So she'll make the sentences flip. So that's why you did that exercise yesterday, inverting the poem. So putting it into a regular word order rather than what you see here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let this lady read. And so follow along. And then when we come back, I'll just make a couple of notes and then have you guys work on the thing. So follow along, please.
Here follow some verses upon the burning of our house, July 10th, 1666, by Anne Bradstreet. In silent night when rest I took, for sorrow near I did not look. I wakened was with thundering noise and piteous shrieks of dreadful voice, that fearful sound of fire and fire, let no man know is my desire. I, starting up, the light did spy, and to my God my heart did cry, to strengthen me in my distress, and not to leave me succourless. Then, coming out, beheld a space, the flame consume my dwelling place. And when I could no longer look, I blessed his name that gave and took, that laid my goods now in the dust. Yea, so it was, and so 'twas just. It was his own, it was not mine, far be it that I should repine. He might of all justly bereft, but yet sufficient for us left. When by the ruins oft I passed, my sorrowing eyes aside did cast, and here and there the places spy, where oft I sat, and long did lie. Here stood that trunk, and there that chest, there lay that store I counted best. My pleasant things in ashes lie, and them behold no more shall I. Under thy roof no guest shall sit, nor at thy table eat a bit. No pleasant tale shall e'er be told, nor things recounted done of old. No candle e'er shall shine in thee, nor bridegroom's voice e'er heard shall be. In silence ever shalt thou lie. Adieu, adieu, all's vanity. Then straight I 'gin my heart to chide, and did thy wealth on earth abide? Didst fix thy hope on mouldering dust? The arm of flesh didst make thy trust? Raise up thy thoughts above the sky, that dunghill mists away may fly. Thou hast an house on high erect, framed by that mighty architect, with glory richly furnished, stands permanent, though this be fled. It's purchased and paid for too, by him who hath enough to do. A price so vast as is unknown, yet by his gift is made thine own. There's wealth enough, I need no more. Farewell my pelf, farewell my store. The world no longer let me love, my hope and treasure lies above.
Okay, so I really wanted you to hear that feminine voice to it rather than just mine from the other day, because I really butcher things when I read, so, and that probably has a lot to do with my eyesight. Sometimes it has a lot to do with the way I talk, and sometimes it's the speed of which I talk anyway, and sometimes it's just not well read. This lady was well read, and at least she did a good job of it. So anyway, now that you've heard that, a couple of things that I've noticed about that when she's writing, especially in relation to what we just pointed out, that she favored just talking about her events in her life. It seems like the events in her life become very emotional for her, so to speak, that she looks at these events and says, how can I apply these to my life with God? How can I apply these with my life according to my faith? And I think we'll find that more about her if we were to look at a lot of her self-reflecting poems. So I want to go over a couple of things real quick on this here, and then I'll let you guys do it. So in this poem, Bradstreet narrates an incident and then moves on to draw conclusions from it. What do you think is the turning point of the poem? We talked about it the other day. The big hint is going to be a couple of French words, and not the bad words. So, and you'll see that. Like the hint would be adieu. So anyway, where does Bradstreet get her inner strength? So that should be fairly obvious. So, and how do you think someone today might deal with the same situation? Couple comparisons. When I did this several years ago, I remembered 2001. I remember 9/11 of 2001. How a lot of people dealt with that tragedy was a lot of churches saw a lot of people moving into the church, or not moving in, but going to the churches. A lot of prayers. So think about that. Pelf. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 3, Bradstreet speaks of another house in an extended metaphor at the end of the poem. What is this house? Who's its architect? And how is it better than the house that she's lost? So think about that. Pelf, a word designating riches or worldly goods, are considered to be slightly tainted, ill-gotten, or stolen. We talked about that the other day when it came up. Why do you suppose she uses that bitter word to describe her belongings? Actually, they label it as cherished treasures. Number 5, this is important. Using your non-inverted version. Remember, you went and kind of wrote the poem out in a non-inverted way to kind of make it make more sense, or like we would say it. It says write a paragraph of the entire poem. So it's a paraphrase or a restatement of a text in your own words. So now that we've heard it, we've seen it twice, basically retell me the story in your own words in just a paragraph. So it can be as simple as, I woke up, my house was on fire. I would use third person. Her house was on fire, and she had to escape, but she escaped with no belongings. And as she escaped, she cried out to the Lord, but then she remembered that, what? They were not mine anyway. So, so that's the kind of style I want you to write in there. So just basically what you remember about the poem, put it in your own words for number 5. Number 6, some readers have felt that by so lovingly enumerating her losses, she's like looking at there's that place where that bridegroom sat. There's a table that was there that no one's going to eat there anymore. Bradstreet is crying out to heaven in a way that unconsciously reveals more attachment to her earthly possessions than she would admit to. I mean, and it goes, you think about it, Puritans, and then in that village, they're supposed to be almost saintly behavior. The pastor is like kind of the minister of that village is kind of like the leader of that, and maybe not the de facto leader, but it's kind of been known that in some of those societies that they would say, well, Farmer John didn't come to church on Sunday. Well, where was he? He was seen plowing his field. Oh no, that's a big sin. So, they held each other accountable for things like that. So, but human nature says, I love my stuff. I like my stuff. So think about that when you're answering that question. On the other hand, what Bradstreet does not reveal in this poem is significant. All the books that she wrote, all the poems that she had, her Bibles, her papers, unpublished poems that are lost in the fire as well. Remember, she's 54 years old. She's had her whole lifetime. Using specific examples from the text, explain why you are or are not convinced that the speaker means what she says. And basically what she says is, hey, no big deal. The Lord is going to take care of me. I have a better place to go. No big deal. So think about that. And number 7, think about the major Puritan beliefs as you reread this poem. What philosophical beliefs about God and the purpose of human life are reflected in Bradstreet's poem? What does she basically believe? And that's what I'm asking there. Anyway, I'm available for questions. I'll have the thing on so you guys can ask questions at home. You can send me an email. 7 questions, and we should be almost done with this poem. And hopefully it won't stumble you. But I do want you to see her lifestyle in this poem. So I think that's reflected in in her beliefs. And then we'll move on after that. But this is all I want to finish with today. And because I don't want to make it too complicated, because I know that some people really complain that this poem is kind of boring. And the tone of it is a little bit different too. But once you get into it, hopefully you'll find some meaning into it. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. And we'll see you later.